Hey everyone, glad to have you back on the virtual March Madness tournament simulation on NBA 2K23 here on College Sports Revived. In case you missed the first episode, I don't want to spoil how the South region went down, so you can check the description for a link to the first installment if you haven't watched it yet. But if you've already seen the South region video already, here we go. The road to the virtual Final Four continues today as we go through the Midwest today. We bore witness to some great games in the intro episode and some shocking simulation to boot. The virtual bracket picked 7 of 8 correct in the first round to tip things off, including Furman and Princeton, and then cooled off a little bit as Furman blew out San Diego State. Brandon Miller struggled in the loss to Maryland, and then Baylor goes from second round losers in real life to a Final Four team thanks to incredible games from Adam Flagler. So we're going to go in order of the 1 seeds, 1 through 4, as the committee selected them. So the Midwest is up to bat, highlighted by Marcus Sasser and the Houston Cougars, who will take on the Northern Kentucky Norse to begin this episode. Speaking of Sasser, as you guys know, he was nursing a groin injury heading into the real tournament, but here in virtual hoops, no injuries for our bracket, so we'll be seeing guys like Xavier's leading scorer Zach Fremantle, who missed the entire tournament in real life due to injury. They'll play later today, but for now, Houston is taking care of business against the Norse. The Cougars find themselves up by 14 at the half. We'll see if the Norse can make it interesting here down the stretch. No, not quite. They lose by 30, a far cry from the first seed we saw yesterday have some trouble. Texas A&M Corpus Christi, they were a 3-point shot away from taking Alabama to OT in the first episode of this series, but this time around, a lot different of a result. So Houston wins by 30 as Sasser, their star, scores almost 30, and Jawan Walker had a double-double there. Tremont Mark with 11 assists, Sasser's backcourt partner. Xavier Rhodes led the Norse in scoring with 18 and 3. So 1 for 1 today. The first round didn't give the virtual bracket too many problems in the South. We'll see if that's any different here in the Midwest as our first 8-9 game, or the 8-9 game, is underway. Iowa with Chris Murray, the scoring beast, younger brother of Keegan, who's playing for the Surprise Kings, and Johnny Broome, the star big man who transferred in from Morehead State. I'm going to talk about him later here in the episode, but a 3-point game for Auburn at the half. They have the advantage. Perhaps we sit in and watch a game for the first time this episode. Well, offense goes a little bit dry for both teams, especially Iowa, which has not been words uttered very often together for Iowa this season. They go ice cold down the stretch, and Auburn blows them out there in the last couple minutes. Iowa fails to break 50. As we all know, they're an excellent offensive team, but Wendell Carter and Johnny Broome take care of business down the stretch. No surprise there to see Wendell Green, with 20 points, and Johnny Broome with a beast double-double. He actually killed Iowa in real life when they played in that first round game. We'll see how he did against Murray. He only had 8 points. It was actually not even the coach's kid, Pat McCaffrey, had that good of a game. He was 2 for 10 himself. So Iowa, very unlike them on the offensive end in the first round. Let's head over to the 5-12 game. Miami, who was just eliminated 2 days ago, they've made it all the way through March to the Final Four. This was a game I actually had wrong. I got Houston and Auburn correct, but I had Drake as a Sweet 16 team, and in real life, they almost pulled it off, but just too many turnovers down the stretch. They couldn't beat Miami's press at the end of the game, and they couldn't get Tucker DeVries any opportunities to score, so they blew it. Miami snuck it out in real life, and they managed to make it all the way to the semifinals nationally, and this time around, they will sneak it out once again. Pretty similar score as well. They won by 7 in real life, and it looks like they're going to win by 9 if, let's see, they can't make any threes here in garbage time. Look at this. Feels like I'm watching a rerun of the San Diego State game against the FAU there in the second half. But finally, a 3 is knocked down, but that doesn't do much on the scoreboard except make it a little bit more respectable. 72-64 Miami. We'll head on to the next round. The virtual bracket is now 3 for 3. And 10 of 11 overall in all their first round games between the Midwest and the South. Isaiah Wong, the ACC Player of the Year, that kid's a greyhound. I love watching him play. 14 and 5 in this one, only 3 missed shots. Really efficient offensive day for a lot of Miami's better players, with a bunch of guys in double figures. Meanwhile, one of the best shooters in college basketball, Tucker DeVries, could not get things going. 4 for 6, but only 6 shots. They limited him to only 6 attempts from the field. Now, Indiana and Kent State. I had a 12-13 matchup here in my bracket. I had Kent State moving on. I didn't really like Indiana in the tournament just because they they don't shoot the 3-ball well for such a highly seeded team, and I thought with Trace Jackson Davis he was gonna have his 20 points, sure, but then I thought Sincere Carey was gonna have 20. He averaged near 20 for Kent State, their star shooting guard, so I thought they'd be able to offset each other, and then Kent State would find a way to outplay them, but obviously they just got beat bad early and couldn't catch up in real life, and that's kind of the similar story here in the virtual bracket as well. 74-57 looks like to be your final, as the Hoosiers will go on to face the U in the round of 32. So everything according to plan as in real life. Houston against Auburn, Miami against Indiana. Those are the 2 matchups in the round of 32 that have been decided by the virtual bracket as well as in real life. Race Thompson with 19. The savvy, silky smooth freshman guard Jalen Hood-Schifino had a good game as well. Trace Jackson Davis, they didn't even need him to have a big game or a good game at all to take care of Kent State. Meanwhile, Sincere Carey, only 7 points. It was actually Marion Thomas with 17 and 8 to lead the Golden Flash. So we have another game where we could see the virtual brackets perfection be wavering a little bit. We got Iowa State and Pittsburgh. I did get this one right. I had whoever was going to win that 11 playing game between Pitt and Mississippi State. I had whoever winning that. I thought they were going to beat Iowa State. I didn't like Iowa State's offense. They only scored 41 as a team in the real life game, but look at this, the Cyclones want revenge. They scored 49 in the first half of the virtual game, outdoing their entire sum from the real life matchup, and that's all they needed to coast to a victory. 86-54. They more than doubled their real life output in this game, and the virtual bracket gets their first miss here in this one. Gabe Kausher with 24 and 3. Osun Osanini with 11 and 11. So Iowa State looking like a much different team here virtually. So the Cyclones, they coast their way to a win, and they'll play the winner of Xavier and Kennesaw State, which was a really good game in real life. That was one of the best first round games in general. Blake Hinson led the Pittsburgh Panthers with 12 and 8. So we'll check out Xavier. We'll see if having Zach Fremantle changes anything in this one. They had a lot of trouble. Even Sully Boom and Adam Kunkel, their backcourt partners, they were bickering at one point, I remember, in the real life game. And that was pretty televised live. So we'll see if they can come together and play a little more cohesively. I love the story from Kennesaw State. They got Sharif Abdul-Rahim's brother coaching there as they're down by 6 at the half in the virtual bracket. Yeah, his brother coaches there now. He was 1-28, I believe, 4 years ago. 4 years later, they're in the tournament, ASUN champions. So he's playing a freaking Coach Carter College Hoops 2K Legacy mode in real life, as Zach Fremantle starred in this one to help Xavier win a little bit more convincing this time around. Garbage time 3 from Spencer Rogers, doesn't matter, make or miss. So 62-53 is your final. The Musketeers win it a little bit more handily, no doubt, thanks to having Zach Fremantle, their leading scorer on the year this time, who missed the real life tournament due to injury. Gotta love the ability to edit that out in a real life or the virtual tournament, because injuries are definitely one of the worst things in sports. Demon Robinson with 22 and 8, 2 blocks. And this one to be Kennesaw State's top performer in this one. Now we're going to shift our focus to one of the most highly anticipated games of the entire tournament, first round in real life. We got the Texas A&M Aggies, who a lot of people believe were underseeded, one of the best defensive teams in the country, against Penn State, who seeks their first tournament victory in 20 years flat. People like this matchup a lot in real life. I know Texas A&M was a pretty popular team to make a run, because that bottom half of the South was so wide open for a lot of people, rather the Midwest was so wide open for a bunch of people. But look at this, we got a shootout on our hands. 49-44, A&M leads at the half, but the closer we get to the later minutes, defense is starting to toe in, and A&M holds a basket lead with a minute 30 to go. Finally, we get some actual live raw gameplay. I've been waiting for a game like this to hop into. Cam Winter, the point guard, looks for the tie. A step in from the 3-point line. Good screen. No avail. So it remains a 2-point game with Penn State looking for a stop, but Andrew Funk can't get in front of Tyrese Radford, the lefty there, as he makes his way to the rim. But yeah, I actually fell asleep for this one in real life as Radford gets 2 of 2 to extend the A&M lead to 4. But I fell asleep. I think this was like 11:20 tip-off or something. But I didn't even really stay up for it because with the way Andrew Funk, I believe, dropped near 30 points on the Aggies, this wasn't even that close, which shocked a lot of people. Penn State, they get their way to the rim. They've been a really fun team to watch this year as Cam Winter needs both of these to really stay afloat. But they were a fun team. They were among the country leaders in three-point made per game for the entirety of the year. Even if they didn't do well in the tournament, which they did, they won their first tournament game for 20 years. But a lot to be proud of for Penn State fans for sure. Jalen Pickett, number 22, was also their first All-American since like before Vietnam. Like they got a good team this year, so don't be worried, Penn State fans. They get the stop there. Andrew Funk, the hero in real life, well, he replicated here virtually. He dribbles outside. Pickett, reversal to Cam Winter. He puts the move on Wade Taylor as he makes his way to the cup, tying it up 65 apiece with less than 10 to go. What a move there. Cam Winter turns his hips and gets baseline on two of A&M's best players. And Jalen Pickett's that first All-American since, I think, 1950-something. He is liking what he's seen, but he knows the job is not done. One stop to force overtime. Penn State trying to win this game like they did in real life and snap that 20-year cold spell. Tyrese Radford scans the floor. 2 seconds left for the win. Good look. And it's off. Aggies can't win it. We're going to have to go to overtime. So we're going to take this thing very slow. I believe we had 3 overtimes in the South region in the first episode, but we'll see how it treats these two teams. So A&M scores the first 7 points, and now 10. They go on a 10-3 run there, and then they make another 3. So A&M, unfortunately, really controlling the overtime period, and they will hang on 78-70. A shame that Penn State kind of ran out of gas there in overtime, but A&M trying to right their wrongs, and perhaps they can make a run as a lot of people's favorites. I know Joe Lunardi, I listen to him a lot, even though he's gets a lot of things wrong. He knows what he's talking about at least, and he actually had A&M in the Sweet 16, I believe, or maybe the Elite 8. I know he had them going far. A lot of people did. So we got Wade Taylor with 21 and Tyrese Radford with 17. Cam Winter, the hero down the stretch there, as Jalen Pickett stuffing the stat sheet as he so often does with 11, 8, 5 assists, 2 steals. Yeah, I was pretty surprised at this one. It was the highest scoring first half by far of the entire virtual tournament, and then the defenses really started to toe in there. So to conclude the first round, Texas, the 2 seed, Colgate, the 15 seed. I actually had to make Colgate's jerseys on the left, as you can tell, and they were one of the teams I had to create for this tournament. But luckily, I got lucky because I had to create them, and then I had to create, I had to create another team. It was Montana State. So luckily, 2 of the most plain jerseys in college basketball they didn't have on the 2K share feature. So it wasn't too much for me to create as Colgate drops this one by 20. So no problems for the Longhorns. They were one of my Final Four picks. I actually had them losing in the championship game to Alabama in real life. And they were this close to making the Final Four, but Miami with a nice comeback. Mitchell with 15, Timmy Allen with 14, Marcus Carr with 11. Dylan Daisu, another guy who was a little bit banged up in the real-life tournament. He will be good to go for the entirety of this one. He only averaged like 8 points a game on his year. He was playing awesome in the tournament, but then I think he was dealing with a foot thing, so he was kind of banged up a little bit, especially in the Penn State game, so he'll be back at full health for this one. So opening up the round of 32, Houston against Auburn. In this one, we saw Houston win 81-64, and it looks like they want to replicate that performance as they look to beat Auburn by even more than 17 this time around. Yet another game that we don't get to hop into just because it was so one-sided. 76-55 is your final. Pretty close to the real-life score as the Houston Cougars will advance to the Sweet 16, waiting on the winner of the U and the Miami Hoosiers. Marcus Sasser making a case to be on the all-region team. We had that last episode where I took the 5 best players, 5 top performers, and put them on the all-region team, just like they do in real life. So we're definitely gonna be having that in the next the finale or the end of the episode for sure, as Johnny Broom, 21-10, 3 steals, 2 blocks. He was a transfer from Morehead State in real life, and you got to feel for coaches like that. You know, he only played 1 year at Morehead State, won Ohio Valley Player of the Year, and then transferred out. So the coach at Morehead State did everything right. He found a great player, but 1 year later, he's in Auburn playing. So you got to feel for the smaller guys sometimes, man. But Johnny Broom, great player, had a great tournament too. So Indiana, they had the two-headed duo between JHS and TJD against Nigel Pack and Isaiah Wong, 2 of the top scorers in the country. And of course, Norchad O'Meara. He's going to make things difficult for Trey Stackson Davis for sure, as the U hold a 5 points advantage. It was pretty close in real life, but then Miami just took it to the Hoosiers down the stretch. They really whipped up on them at the end of that game in real life. But this time around, it was pretty much the same kind of skeleton, if you will, of the real life game, but just flipping sides a little bit. Close on this one all the way through, but this time it's the Hoosiers who take control at the end of this one. 74-60 is your final. So it will be Houston against the Hoosiers in the Sweet 16. Race Thompson again played excellent. Jalen Hood-Schifino dropping dimes and scoring buckets, and Trace Jackson Davis filling up the stat sheet for sure, close to a double-double for the All-American player. So we'll see how the U did. Did Isaiah Wong bring it, or did he struggle? Well, that answer is simple. He struggled. It was actually Nigel Pack with 12, but Wong only had 7, 3 for 10 shooting, 1 of 6, and Norchad O'Meara, again, 0 for 6, 3 for 10, so they combined 6 for 20 from the floor between Wong and O'Meara. Just won't get it done. Xavier and Iowa State. So the Musketeers pulled away from Pitt late in this one. I had Xavier all the way into the Sweet 16, losing to Texas, so I did get that one right. But I did have A&M beating Penn State, so that's one I got wrong. This was not a terrible region for me outside of Drake in the Sweet 16. Definitely leave down in the comments how your regions went. But look at this, we got a pretty close game on our hands, even with Zach Fremantle. But once again, not one we can jump into just because these late surges. This has been a pretty common trend for the Midwest over and over again. It looks like in the last couple minutes it's going to be a close game, and then one team just finds their stride and closes out in a big, emphatic way. So Zach Fremantle making Xavier look like a title contender. They desperately needed him in real life. They got him here in the virtual tournament, 21-5-4, only missing 1 shot. Yep, Xavier. They look like a much different team with Fremantle in the lineup. Gabe Kalsher, for the 2nd game in a row, leads the Cyclones in scoring with 14 and 6. So Xavier will be playing the winner of Texas and Texas A&M. I know this was a matchup that a lot of people wanted to see because you got the Lone Star rivalry. 2 teams that used to be in the same conference together, and 2 teams that play pretty differently. You know, you got the awesome offense of Texas against the elite defensive nature of A&M. And look at this, A&M opening the game up on an 18-4 run, 32-20 at the half, but the Longhorns, they're trying to keep it close here. They have one last chance to overcome their slow start as we hop in here with only minutes left to go. A 4-point A&M advantage as Texas A&M tries to overcome the 18-4 deficit early. Radford at the line. He will make this free throw to put him up 5. 1:30 to go. This is basically Texas' last chance. They got to play a perfect last 90 seconds here as Tyrese Hunter dribbles outside. As he looks for a screen, he gets it from the former Utah Ute, Timmy Allen. He'll evade the hedging defender and then take a circus shot. Not the look you want in this stage of the game. And then Dexter Dennis will end off any chance at a comeback. He will slam the door shut for the Aggies. As the popular Sweet 16 pick in real life, they get it done this time virtually. 58-47 is your final. Tyrese Radford with 14, 5, and 3. Wade Taylor with 9. Look at this, a pretty good team effort. Even though they didn't score a lot of points as a team, they divvied up their scoring output. 14, 9, 9, 8, 6, 5, 5. Gotta love it when you can really spread out the attack like that. Leading the Longhorn side of things was Tyrese Hunter with 13. Dylan Dice, who struggled, 1 for 7. Marcus Carr also not enough looks for him, 0 for 4 from 3. And yeah, Hunter, I don't know what kind of shot that was there at the end of that game. So we're on to the Sweet 16 with a trip to the regional final on the line. First game, we got Houston, the 1 seed, Indiana, the 4 seed. Let's see if the Indiana Hoosiers are just as prepared as the U was in real life, as Miami took this game by 14 points. Excellent defense, scored almost 90 as a team on this very balanced Houston attack. And take a look at this, 40-40. Are we gonna finally have a game that we can hop into? Well, a 23-12 run by Houston down the stretch won't help. And with under a minute to go, Indiana basically has one more chance at this. 46 seconds to go off the inbound, down by 8. They have to play a very clean last couple seconds here to even have a chance. This is Miller Kopp, one of the better three-point weapons that Indiana has on the roster. He tries to take it inside on Tremont Mark, but that's not gonna go his way. He's an excellent defender, not the guy you want to attack one-on-one. And honestly, without a perfect last couple minutes, Indiana can't salvage this game. They held tough for a while, but Houston, just one spurt was all they needed to win by 10 and advance to the Elite Eight. Jamal Shed, 23, 4, and 4, stealing Marcus Sasser's shot a little bit. Sasser was the star in the first 2 games, but now it's Shed stepping up, and that's what makes this Houston team just that scary. 12 and 4 for Sasser, and Jarace Walker had 8, 6, and 4 himself. And leading the Hoosiers was Jalen Hood-Schifino with 14. Race Thompson also had 14. And TJD only 4 points in the loss. So Houston punches their ticket to the regional final, the Elite Eight. Let's see who's going to be joining them. It's either going to be the 3 seed, the Xavier Musketeers, or the 7th seeded Texas A&M Aggies with that vaunted defense that they possess. Will that backcourt provide enough scoring for the A&M Aggies to defeat the 3 seed, the Xavier Musketeers? They want to join Baylor as the second 3 seed in the Final Four in this tournament, but they're up by 5 here in the Sweet 16 on A&M. Come on, last couple minutes, can A&M make this interesting? 2:20 to go, 48-42. We're trickling down here in the final minutes. A&M gotta score so I can hop in. Come on, I'm begging you. I want to see some points. Well, if it's gonna happen, it's gonna have to happen now. Another 8-point game that we're hopping into the twilight of the contest. Sully Boom on the perimeter. He looks for teammate Adam Kunkel. They're setting a little floppy screen for Jack Nungy. He's trying to muscle his way past the former Michigan State Spartan Julius Marble, and Marble fouls Jack Nungy. And you got to think, if he just makes one here, that's going to be enough to put A&M away. It's going to be a 9-point game with under a minute to go. Nungy for the second. Gatorade symbol, still no problem. He makes it a 9-point game, and that will do it. Xavier against Houston. That regional final has been decided. 59-51 win for the Musketeers. They continue to cruise their way to the Elite Eight. Very surprising in a way, but also not so much with Zach Fremantle back in the lineup. But they didn't even need him to score a single bucket to take down the Texas A&M Aggies, which is pretty shocking and pretty scary for other teams for sure. Adam Kunkel had 17. Tyrese Radford making his argument of being on the all-region team with another great performance in the loss. 19 for him. Dexter Dennis with 11. Wade Taylor with 9. So here we go. Will Houston make their second Final Four of the virtual March Madness tournament? They did it back in 2021 when we did this the first time. Or will Xavier make it 2 3 seeds in the Final Four, joining Baylor, who won the South region last episode? Here we go. Houston with the first possession, and we'll head straight to the simulation screen. Come on, let's see if the Xavier Musketeers can stop the cruising Houston Cougars. Well, this isn't a good sign. 15-point game. Man, if we could just have an epic regional final game, that would make up for all the lopsided one-sided finishes that we saw here in this region, but it was just not meant to be. The Midwest was pretty one-sided all the way through. Houston basically blows the doors off of every team they face, including the Xavier Musketeers. A 70-54 final will punch Houston's ticket to the Final Four, and they will be facing the winner of the West region that is highlighted by the Purdue, or rather the Kansas Jayhawks. So we're going to see next episode who they will play. But for now, Houston fans, rejoice. You're going to see your team back in the virtual March Madness tournament for the second time. Jamal Shed 16, Jarace Walker 16, Marcus Sasser 15. How can you stop a team just so deep on the offensive end like this? So athletic, great in transition, great from behind the line. They rebound well. I just don't know how you stop a team this balanced, man. Xavier, led by Adam Kunkel. But again, for the second game in a row, Zach Freemantle held without a bucket. So that's it, everybody. The virtual March Madness region gets a little bit closer to being finished. Baylor will face the winner of the East Regional, and Houston will face the winner of the West Regional. So we saw some things kind of transpire like they did in real life. The virtual bracket was 7 of 8 in the first round, and then things got a little bit, or rather 6 of 8 in the first round. Then got a little bit away from real life as Houston basically ran this region. Texas A&M makes a Sweet 16 like a lot of people wanted them to in real life. And Xavier looked like a much different team with Zach Freemantle actually in the lineup. So a lot of things changed, some things stayed the same, but overall, we're hoping in the next episode when we take out the West region, we're going to hope that we see a lot more competitive games like we did in the first episode of this series. And as tradition, we're going to close this installment with the preview of next time, where we're going to be going into the West region where we got Kansas, UConn, UCLA, Gonzaga, some really tough teams in that region to hopefully stop the momentum of these Houston Cougars as they've just been running over everybody in the virtual tournament. And on the right, of course, at the end of every episode, we got our South region team, or all region team. So this time we got Marcus Sasser, who led his Cougars to the Final Four, averaging over 18. Tyrese Radford had a couple nice games there in the Sweet 16 run for the Aggies. Gabe Kalshear only made it to the round of 32, but averaged 19. Race Thompson from the Hoosiers averaged 18 and 6 in 3 games. And then Johnny Broom averaging a 20-point double-double in the 2 games in the tournament for the Auburn Tigers. So that's it for me today, everybody. Next time you see me, we're going to be hopping into the Kansas region and see who will come out of that region. We got UConn in real life. We'll see if it's anything different this time around in the virtual tournament. So stay tuned for that. Hope to see you guys there. I'm College Sports Revive signing out. And I hope you continue to enjoy this series just as much as you enjoy the real life tournament. I'll see you guys when we hop into the West region next time out. Peace out, everybody. Have a great night.